On today's Hot Sheet, I'm discussing Friday's job report. Quick update on that. We have housing inventory for the last week. Fascinating what's going on there and what home sellers want in their agent. Today is Monday, April 7th, 2025. I am Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. We are live. I'm back here in Naples, Florida on what some are calling Black Monday. I wore my black shirt. I always wear a black shirt, but I wore it in honor of that. You've got a Dow down 1,200 points, 3.34. You know, the circuit breakers, if the futures were down about that much, 1,200 points. If the futures go to 7% down, they actually turn it off. They just say, let's just give the stock market a little breather here. S&P's down 3.5%. NASDAQ's down 4%. So another red day in the stock market. All right. We've got jobs report from last Friday. We'll get into that. Obviously, let me know how you're feeling here through the weekend. We had a red Thursday, red Friday in the markets, more red today. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling, which market you're tuning in from. I see Brian chatting up from Mansfield Stores. If you go to my Twitter, I was cheering hard for UConn yesterday afternoon. UConn women page buckets. Haley, who's the producer of the show, actually went to UConn. So shout out Haley for going to UConn. She did not play on the basketball team, but did go to UConn. UConn women, the best of the best. All right. Anyways, let's get into what's going on here. Just came out of a conversation with my team about a question that was posed over the weekend with the stock market collapse. By the way, stock market still up, S&P 500 still up over 100% in the last 5 years, even with the sell-off, or what I would consider a burn-off of some of the money we printed unnecessarily, kind of just working its way through the system, this burn off, which is kind of overdue. When you print an extra $2.3 trillion for no reason, when COVID's well in the rear view mirror, slap a fancy name on the bill that doesn't make any sense to why you're printing the money. At some point, that money needs to kind of it was fake money anyways. It needs to get burnt off. The S&P still up over 100% in the last 5 years. So not sure if I would call this a collapse or a correction that is just kind of long overdue. But I was answering the question with some of the team agents that many might be facing right now. Is the housing market going to crash because of the stock market collapse? Here's a few things to remember before we get into jobs. 4 out of the last 6 recessions, real estate home prices went down. What happened in the other 2? One of them was flat. The other one was the great financial crisis, the mortgage crisis. We know, if you're following the Hot Sheet, we're not in one of those. We've got significantly less inventory than 2006, before anybody knew, besides Ivy Zelman and a few others, that real estate was about to, the mortgage crisis was about to happen and real estate was about to go down. We don't have a foreclosure issue. We're near all-time lows on foreclosures, right? We've stacked up the variety of reasons. And Logan Monashami did it a couple of weeks ago again for us on the Knowledge Brokers podcast. So we're not in a mortgage crisis. It's 10 times harder to get a mortgage than it was back then after the laws changed in 2012. There's 10 times less liquidity in the mortgage market than there was. So for a variety of reasons, we're not in a great financial crisis, mortgage-like crisis. And think about it. One of the things that I think doesn't get mentioned enough, if we jump into school with our BAMX members here, I'll just jump in and show you the one chart that I love when this conversation comes up. It's like, well, is the home prices going to crash because of the stock market? Now, home prices in Southwest Florida might move down. In certain parts of Texas, they might move down. Supply and demand. Okay, this is a supply and demand mortgage-driven business. They might move down in those areas for sure. But when we're just talking about the national numbers, because of stocks, is real estate going to crash? Stocks might make a recession happen. 4 out of the last 6 home prices went up. One of them went flat, and one of them was the mortgage crisis, which we're not in, was the only one that they went down. But if you jump into school, school.com/BAMX, and you go into our hot sheet classroom and just simply click there, you've got right here, you've got most popular charts. Drop that down, home price by decade. I click it and download it right here, whether on mobile app, school app, or here on your desktop or something. We look at the last 4 decades. Well, our home price is going to go down maybe in a couple of years. What if we hit a recession? What if? All of these different types of questions. Well, in the last 4 decades, home prices go up each and every single decade, including when we had the great financial collapse, including when we had a mortgage crisis, which seems odd. But it's because home prices went up 85% and then lost 40%. Everybody talks about the 40% that was lost, not the 80% gain in just 4 or 5 years. Think about that. 4 or 5 years of home prices going up 20%, 20%, 20%, 15%. Just an absolute unhealthy, savage market. Well, because loans were no income, no job. When I was 19 years old, I called a friend. I went to high school with him. We played football. He had red hair. I called him Big Red. Very creative nickname. I said, "Hey, Big Red, I'm 19. There's no reason I should get a loan, but I want one. I'm going to buy a 2-family. 2-family is way overpriced." Okay. Bad area. It was the only thing I could think of, putting a deal together on. 20 years old. I need Big Red. Give me a loan. Big Red. Give me a loan. Just fire off a loan and send it over to me. I'm going shopping. Okay. Bought 3 homes in 3 years during the 04, 05, 06 timeframe. Okay. And got caught up in that. Didn't know what I was doing. Many of you may know the story. Went bankrupt on December 31st, 2008. Didn't, a couple of years later, got into real estate by, sales, getting the license, doing it the right way, all of that. But here's what I was over leveraged. I made a ton of mistakes. But if I had bought not in 04, 05, 06, if I just bought on January 1st, 2000 and sold still during the recovery, December 31st, 2009, well, I would still be up 47.3%. When you're buying a home the right way, you're holding it for 11.8 years. That's the average homeowner tenure. It's pretty hard to lose, right? So there's a variety of reasons why the stock market isn't actually going to impact these home prices. In fact, it might push them up past where most of the projections are coming in right now. Okay. Just think about what we've seen the last couple days. We've seen 6.6 on the 30-year fixed. If we go back to January 13th, mortgage rates this is the high for this year, 7.26. That's January 13th. Okay, that's the high point for mortgage rates this year. January 13th. What's interesting about that date? Well, that was 7 days before Inauguration Day. 7 days before Inauguration Day was our peak on mortgage rates. Why? Well, all the stock boys and the crypto boys said, Trump to the moon. Trump's going to take all of my stocks and all of my crypto to the moon. So what was going on with stocks? Let's just go Dow Jones. Okay, let's take a look. What was going on in January? Yep, this was the inauguration time. This was the top we've seen in the last 6 months for the stock market during the inauguration week. Okay, Well, at that same time that stocks were peaking out over the last 6 months, if we go to the last 6 months of the 10-year treasury, the 10-year treasury was moving up. Remember, the 10-year treasury moves in reverse. So people were buying stocks and moving out of long-term treasury, which actually pushes this up. Here you go. Here's January right here, which actually pushes the 30-year fixed up to the peak. Now, with people selling their stocks, the sell-off happening, not the collapse, the sell-off, the burning of a lot of printed money. With the sell-off happening in equities, what's happening? The 10-year is also moving down. In the last 6 months, we're at the lowest level. When more people buy, the 10-year creates more demand, and it actually does the reverse. It moves those prices down, moves that yield down. 30-year follows the 10-year. And so here we are where more people can afford a home, where more people can buy more home, and more people can enter the market at a time of year when we see the most buyer activity that we typically do, right? April, we see buyer activity go up. All right. How about the recession fears? Again, 4 out of the last 6, you've seen home prices go up. One of them went flat, and the other one was the mortgage crisis. Well, let's take a look at last week's jobs report. Okay. We had, and we talked about this a little bit on Knowledge Brokers on Friday, 228,000 in March. And so if you caught Knowledge Brokers, I'm just going to do a quick recap. Then we're going to get into some of the inventory here for this week, which the numbers are fascinating there. But 228,000 was well above the expectation for the job market. Job market had a analysis of adding 140,000 jobs. Okay. Payroll employment increased by 228,000. Here's the payroll employment. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong chart there. Here's payroll employment. Went up 228,000. The expectation was like 140,000. So a lot of jobs, new jobs were created. At the same time, we saw unemployment tick up from 4.1 to 4.2. Okay. The calculation they use on unemployment is like, has more people kind of entered the job market. Are they, people actively looking for a job, right? If you don't have a job, you're not looking for unemployment benefits, and you don't want a job, and you're not looking for a job, you're not going to be in this unemployment rate. Okay. Like you haven't had a job in 4 years, maybe, a stay-at-home parent, something like that. They're not being calculated in the unemployment rate. They're not collecting. They haven't been collecting. They're not looking. They're just doing something else. Okay. So there's reasons why that can go up from 4.1 to 4.2, but the Bureau of Labor Statistics classify this as little change, 4.1 to 4.2. So is a recession coming? You would typically see jobs, show a move, job loss, unemployment show some type of move up in if a recession was coming. Now, the fears of a recession coming are certainly up with all of the uncertainty. We go to Lance Lambert. He says today, this is just on April 4th. So this is, I guess, Friday. This is Friday from Lance Lambert over at Resi Club, who many of you might know him from Knowledge Brokers Pods. Today, residential building construction hit a new cycle high. Just Friday, a new cycle high for residential building construction. Residential building construction is usually in contraction well before traditional recessions start. Another indicator that we're pretty, they're not going to declare a recession tomorrow. And if they do, good news is 5 out of the last 6 home prices did not go down. So for the question, home prices, strong labor market, new construction hasn't retracted, new construction hiring hasn't retracted. A lot of reasons why while recession fears are up, and certainly the stock investors want everybody to kind of turn face on this thing and, get those stocks back up. But, if you're not selling stocks today, you're probably not too concerned about some of those other big moves. If you're not selling stocks and you're not losing your job, which people aren't losing their job at scale right now, the real estate market is actually looking like it might come out of their 2.5-year recession. Now, in order to come out of the recession and keep prices, somewhat sustainable in housing, we need inventory. Let's take a look at our weekly update, as we do each and every single week, on inventory. This is Altos research through Housing Wire. For the last week, we've seen a real jump up when in 2019, we started to see an increase in the first week of April. But the first week of April went up 3,000 from the last week in March in 2019. I referenced 2019, pretty normal real estate market. 2018, we had higher rates than we had seen in previous years. 2019 into those first couple months of 2020 were normal. Early 2020 verge of like really strong sellers market, but 2019 pre-pandemic, pretty normal. Last week of March, you had 3,000 less active homes on the market than the first week of April. How about for us right now, last week of March to the first week of April, you had a 16,000 jump on active home sales. Okay. I'm sorry. Last week of March into the first week of April, you had about a 10,000 jump in this first week of couple days in March, and then the beginning of April, you have a 16,000 jump. If we just look at what happened in April during that same time frame, it's only 3,000. Same week last year. Okay, last year maybe better indicator than what's going on in 2019. Are we improving? I'd say so. Last year we actually had a decline to 5,000 less homes, 517 to 512. We're up to 691,000 at the same time. It's 35% more than last year. And somewhere here, maybe even in the next month and a half, we're going to cross, maybe even in the next month, maybe within April, we are going to cross the line of 2020. It took us until July last year to cross over on a severe decline of 2020. We may do that in April for inventory. How close we'll get to 2019 remains to be seen. But inventory certainly heading in the right direction. The peak last year was 740,000 on active inventory. We're at 691,000. We're going to blow the peak away this year. All right. This is incredible news for home buyers. For a shopper in, some of these Sunbelt states who have had it really hard the last 5-10 years to find a home, to negotiate. You're actually seeing leverage for those buyers. You're seeing buyer markets in those areas. Okay. For the rest of the country, still dealing with a lot of inventory issues. One of the things that's helping inventory right now the most is a 71,000 increase on new single family listings. All right. 71,000 versus 54,000 same week last year and 55,000 the year before. We had substantial uptick on new listings. We'd like to break the 80,000 level. We haven't done that during peak season, but we're getting there. And we've seen multiple weeks now where new listings are improving. At the same time, we're seeing price cuts flatten out above last year and the year prior level, but a couple weeks now of peaking and then maybe flattening out at 35%. Normal market, you see a third. So we're right there. A third of homes will price cut before they actually sell. So price cut percentage at 35, starting to flatten out. This is something to watch here. The spread between the 30-year and the 10-year. We're seeing the 10-year drop down significantly the last couple of days with the equity sell-off, more people moving into safety. And that 10-year is moving down. We were at 3.9 here to start the day, just at about 4 right now, well below Logan's, barrier of 4.15 to 4.18 that he said would be very difficult to break. Broke through it last week in a meaningful way. But now this spread is moving up. So if the spread was kind of, where it was back in March at 2.3 instead of 2.45, rates would be even lower. So got to watch the spread. Does this move up too much to keep those rates a little bit higher? Listen, the rates are still moving in the right direction. It's because of this. Listen, you're not going to get the cake and eat it too without a money printing machine getting turned back on. Okay. If they want to turn the money printing machine on, you can have a high stock market and low interest rates. You want 8% inflation again in 2 years, then fire up the money printing machine, right? There's more fears against inflation. I saw Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan, talking about those fears of inflation, talking about the fears of recession. He's pretty incentivized for the stock market to be doing well. No question about it. So you want to print the money. I see New Legacy Realty burn off. Really, Byron? We printed 80% of the dollars in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, some of it needs to get burnt off, right? Go add 80 pounds over the next 2 months. Ask your spouse, hey, should I burn some of this off if it's not muscle? Like, should I lose a few? Yeah, maybe burn a few off. Like, I know winter will come around in 9 months, and it's nice to have a few extra layers in the winter, but maybe it might be time to burn a few off. You put 80 on in 2 months. Maybe. Contracts pending. Okay. This is probably one of the most interesting numbers that I've seen on this report. We broke the line here of 2024 slightly, but I want to see this dark maroon line 2025. I want to see it on this left side of the chart versus last year, meaning we're seeing more homes pending than we did last year. This is the first time this year we've seen this, except for the very start of the year. 367,000 pending home sales versus 363,000 at the same time last year. This is good news as well. Okay, it means that there are more home buyers who are buying homes, more inventory, more options. And so we want to see these numbers obviously go up. If we continue to see this number go up, we might see another 2, 3, 4 months of this mortgage application number versus last year, which we have been very positive on mortgage applications. This is why Logan hasn't called for the peak sales yet. We're going to see some good months here in the future, and you've got rates cooperating with it. So we want sales to go up. You're not going to get, without printing money, again, you're not going to get a stock market to be up. You're not going to get home sales to go up. You're not going to get rates to go down all at the same time. When do rates go down? Times of uncertainty. Why did real estate prices move up 4 out of the last 6 recessions and we're flat one of them? Uncertainty, moving into an asset that is fixed, an asset that is safe. Okay. The last 2.5 years, while real estate's been in a recession, what have stocks been doing? They've been hitting all-time highs. Okay. Now there is a burn off. Don't like the word? Call it a cool off. Call it a sell off. Call it a don't get crazy like some of the home buyers, the questions I was answering over the weekend, collapse. I don't know if I'd go that far. Okay. Not financial advice, but I'd probably be buying. I had my trades, ready to go for 9:30 a.m. I bought on Friday. Not financial advice. Do whatever you want. But I like seeing, I don't want to buy on when you've got 100 green days in a row. I like to buy in some red day. I like to get sales. I like clearance items. So you're not going to get everything to work out. For those of us in housing, If you want to see more affordability for buyers, this is driving affordability for buyers. If the buyer was pulling out of the stock market today to buy, in those cases, yeah, they probably should have pulled out when they started planning. If they were closing today and they were going to pull out on the day of closing, probably not a good move. But for 4 out of 10 buyers don't have a mortgage. 4 out of 10 homeowners, rather. 1 out of 4 last year didn't pull a mortgage. They used their cash sitting in savings. Savings or putting into it a house. Which one's better, right? Well, we just looked at the last 4 decades. It's pretty easy to tell which one's better. For 6 out of 10 homeowners have a mortgage. For 3 out of 4 who are pulling a mortgage right now, most of them are saying, "Okay, I've got some savings, I've got my income, and I'm gonna pull a mortgage." Okay, well, they're able to afford more right now. The rates are moving down, and just at the time when they need it the most. All right. Speaking of our consumers, speaking of how they're thinking right now, obviously consumer confidence is going to be a big part of it. There's a lot of consumers who think inflation might go up. That's bad. A lot of consumers who are like, does the stock market mean the housing market's going to go down? Those thoughts are bad because that confidence gets lower. Your job to educate, especially on that. Is the housing market going to crash because the stock markets are moving down? Your job to educate. But how are they thinking and how are they hiring more agents right now? Let's jump back over into school, where I've dropped a whole bunch of the charts here inside of the hot sheet classroom. Go to classroom for BAMX members, into hot sheet, go up to April, today's show. All right. You've got all those charts that I just went through. Let's take a look at this. Method used to find a real estate agent. There's an article on this as well in nowbam.com. Okay, referred. Okay, friend, neighbor, relative. For sellers, thinking about having those listings, having that inventory, having that leverage on your local market, friend, neighbor, relative have referred 4 out of 10. Essentially 4 out of 10, 38%. Agent used previously to buy or sell a home, 3 out of 10. So surprisingly, 7 out of 10 not using the same agent. Okay, fascinating stuff. 7 out of 10 not using the same agent. Like, one of the things that I love about the Zoodealio, all the BAMX members get access to the Zoodealio platform, but their home report that they also do is to just stay in front of people on the most important functions, like rent, hold, or rent your home or sell your home analysis, or some of the other metrics about like just staying in front of them with the data. Website, 4% for sellers. This is why Zillow, Realtor, Home, they haven't solved for this. They haven't solved for seller leads. They've solved for buyer leads, 4% for seller. Okay, referred by another real estate agent, broker, 4%. This is the same amount as the portals are producing when it comes to sellers. Buyers, obviously a different story. Get that. Personal contact by agent. So outbound, telephone, email. 4, visit an open house. 3, direct mail. 2, guys, direct mail. I laugh every time I talk to somebody, an agent, and direct mail is a good strategy. Like, there's some places it can really work, high turnover and low competition on the mail. But I talk to some agents around here, Southwest Florida. It's their entire strategy, direct mail. 2% of sellers pick their agent that way. 2%. And my home down here in Florida, I get about 12 different agents mailing me a month, 10 to 12. It's been lower lately because homes aren't selling as fast anymore, but let's call it 8 every month. How would I pick between the 8? I wouldn't pick on a postcard anyway. But how the heck would I pick on 8? You're going to have to be somebody that's going into the mailbox 3-4 times a month times 12 months to separate yourself from the other 7 at the very least. I get a whole bunch of mail. It's all crap. It goes in the garbage. Every once in a while, I'll save the MLS sheet that gets sent to me and just take a look at that. But direct mail, 2%. Passive strategy, outdated strategy. Walked into her called office and the agent was on, dude, this is all crap. Okay. Look at this. It's the referrals. It's the last agent. Okay. And still 7 out of 10 on the last agent. So not a huge number there either. I mean, a huge number compared to everything else, but you would think that that'd be even bigger. Number of agents who contacted before selling. It's 1. I mean, it's 80% of the time. It's 1. Speed. I talk about speed all the time in real estate. Consumers value speed. They value speed more than anything. Convenience and speed. It's the way of life. It's not going the other way. It's, hey, do I have to have 2 people come over? Like, I'm busy this week. Had somebody come over, talk about listing on Tuesday. I had one scheduled Thursday, canceled it. I'll just meet with 1. Convenience. I don't, that was such an annoying process to begin with, having somebody in my home for an hour to do a listing presentation. I really don't want the second person coming on Thursday. I'd rather just sit around in my boxer shorts and watch TV than have that second person come. Like, I'll just have the first person come. I'm good. 15% interview too. Means you got to be the first interview. You got to be, waiting on callbacks from mail probably isn't aggressive enough to be the first interview. That's what those last 2 charts tell me. What sellers want most from real estate agents. This is sellers. We talked about what buyers want most. They want to actually help finding the home. Not somebody that's going to collect Zillow links. What sellers want most from real estate agents. Market to potential buyers. Like, speak to me how to get a buyer, how you're going to market the home to potential buyers. I want a buyer. I'm a seller. I want a buyer. I want a buyer. Speak to the marketing to reach potential buyers. Not how fancy it is. Help price home competitively, 20%. Help sell the home within a specific time frame, 18%. Help sellers find a way to fix up home. So, like, you're seeing a balance here. Got to provide them all. That means help seller find ways to fix up the home, help find a buyer for a home, help with negotiation and dealing with buyers. Look at that. That is lower than everything else, generally speaking. The negotiation and the paperwork. The sellers don't value as much as the other stuff, fill in the blank paperwork and negotiations, as much as they do marketing, competitive pricing, which ties into marketing. Price, the first price is just marketing. Selling the home, getting it sold means I find a buyer. Fixing it up to attract more buyers, finding a buyer. Like, everything is find a buyer, find a buyer, find a buyer, find a buyer. Oh, fill in the blank paperwork. Yeah, I guess 3% of us really want that most. May want it. AI will be able to do a pretty good job here pretty soon on that. It's fill in the blank. Help sellers see homes available to purchase. Help create and post videos to provide tour of my home. Okay, so see a lot of those videos. I think those videos are important in terms of the marketing package, but ultimately it all comes back to, like, show me exactly how to find the buyer. The most important factor, by the way, you can download these easily. Just, when you're in your BAMX Hot Sheet Classroom, click on it right here at the top, whether you're on the mobile app or on desktop. You just click that down arrow, it downloads right to your phone. Reputation of the agent, 35%. Reputation, honest, trustworthy, 21%. Friend or family member, 16%. Okay, look at this reputation as the age groups get higher. 60 to 69, it moves up. 70 to 78, it moves up. 79 to 99, it's all rep. Like, do I know their name? Agent is knowledge of the neighborhood is 4th. Agent has caring personality, good listener is 5th. Okay. Honest, reputation. Do I know them? do they have knowledge? That's what people are looking for right now on the seller. You can check out the article as well on nowbam.com. Obviously, BAMX members, you can get all that stuff right at your fingertips there. But if you go to nowbam.com, you've got a article here to be able to dig through some of that stuff as well. All right. 87% of sellers would recommend their agent. 72% said they definitely would recommend, and 15% said they probably would. So are you getting those recommendations? That's what I would ask about that. Only 6 to 7% of sellers indicated they would definitely not use their agent again. Sellers have been very happy lately. Okay. A lot. If you've been a seller in the last 5 years, you've been happy. Okay. All right, there you go on what sellers are looking for right now in their agent. We took a look at what some of the home buyers are going to look at. Home buyers who don't need a mortgage, where are they flocking to? Okay, home buyers that don't need a mortgage right now. Zudilio just put out their weekly. I dropped this into the hot sheet classroom on BAMX as well. Markets, according to Zudilio data, where you're getting the top cash offers. It's Vegas. It's Tampa. Tampa's one of the only markets in the country that's actually moving into the negative slightly. Chesterfield, Virginia, Atlanta, Georgia, Tucson, Arizona. I haven't seen that Chesterfield, Virginia cash offers moving there. Interesting. Denver, Savannah, Minneapolis, Sarasota, and Orlando. You've got 3 of the 10 in Florida. Cash, top 10 cash offer markets across the country. All right. Little bit of tactics here, Jason. We need some positivity on what people are claiming is Black Monday. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as Opportunity Monday. I look at a real opportunity to jack up those conversations. There's going to be people that ask the same question that my agents were asked this weekend. Is what they're calling stock market collapse? Don't agree with that either. But stock market collapse going to create a housing crash. This is opportunity. This is a real opportunity to get tactical, have more conversations. Consumers value speed. If you're not having the conversation, they're just going to pick that agent that they are having the conversation with. So obviously being equipped with all this knowledge, getting into action today to be able to have those conversations. We're starting the day at around 4.069 on the 10-year. It was under 3.9 this morning, which was amazing. We're still near the lows. We're basically at 6-month lows on the 10-year Treasury. And that's obviously helping here with 30-year fixed 6.6. I was pretty close on my guess of 6.55 when we had the big drop. It came to 6.63, then 6.6 on Friday. Might get to 6.655 today. Love to see 6.5. CME Group is saying that, Fed's kind of at a coin flip right now on the next meeting, which is in 30 days. It's May 7th is the next Fed meeting. Coin flip. First time I've seen that in quite some time. Coin flip on a Fed cut here coming up. All right, there you go. April 23rd is right around the corner. That is going to be in a couple of weeks. BAMFest, completely free virtual event. Sign up now, bamfest.com. We've got a mystery guest who is not in real estate, who has never done a public-facing real estate stage, and every single real estate event in the world would want to have this guest. I'll just leave it at that. Everybody would want to have this guest. Nobody's had this guest. We've got this guest. It's April 23rd. It's noon Eastern. It's 9 a.m. Pacific. If you've been to our virtual events, totally free. Now bamfest.com. If you came to Pro Bowl, you know the entertainment level. These are not your typical real estate event. You know the level that we put on it. This is the event to sign up for. Totally free. Now bamfest.com. April 23rd, 12 p.m. Eastern. Everybody's wanted this guest. Nobody's had this guest. We've got the guest. All right. I guess that's all I got to say. All right. Free and simple way to support us here on this channel is just subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you want to join us and get more out of everything we do at BAM, join the BAMX community, school.com/BAMX. Appreciate you guys. Long hot sheet here to start the day. or start the week. Make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss any of these. And we'll see you back here tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 in the West. Until then, toodaloo.